President, I'd like to ask you a number of questions about Africa, but specifically first about Namibia, and then I'll go more broadly to the continent, and I'll come back to Namibia. But I wondered if you could talk a little bit about your perspective of democracy in Namibia, having led this country for what, the last 10 years and have contributed to it. What do you think the state of democracy is? Not as defined by Americans or Westerns, but in terms of your own ideals.
To come to your question, perhaps I should start by saying that we were a colonized country, and we fought to liberate ourselves. The liberation was for us to bring democracy to Namibia, replacing the apartheid system that was introduced by some people with whom we don't share any interest. They were people of a different color who did not recognize our color. So we took up arms. And I happen to be one of those people who organized to get rid of apartheid system in our country. We have been seeing democracy in countries, particularly in countries where we have been as freedom fighters, in Africa and outside the continent of Africa. And we said, when we liberate our country, we are going to introduce a democratic system as we see it in some countries. That was a declaration that we have made. But the struggle was still continuing. Then the United Nations established their presence here to assist the transfer of power from the white domination apartheid system into our own hands. This was done on the 21st March 1990. Now, we said, now we are going to draw up our constitution. The constitution that would have the Bill of Rights of the people, equality for all Namibians, not based on a color of the skin of anybody, but based on human beings. We then tried to change the laws, the apartheid laws which were here. Some of them, many of them, we repealed them. And then we said, now Namibia is free. Namibia must work towards democracy, where the people of Namibia would allow themselves, not to be allowed by anybody, but by themselves, to practice democracy in Namibia. First, we do it in going to the people, and the people are coming to us to discuss what do they want to be done. It is difficult to call rallies and say, let's now draw up democracy. We asked the people to select trusted members of the society, and those who have been selected, they discuss issues on behalf of those who, or the communities that have elected them. And they go back to the communities to report back what they have done and what they are going to do. And the community, if they feel that something still is missing, and they tell them to add the missing part of what they have done. Now, these things are done at the low level of the society, and they are shifted up to the middle level of the society or communities, and then it pushed up to the top level of the society. We have a parliament in this country. We have the executive in this country, of which I am a head. And then we have a judiciary. These three, we call them the pillars of the Namibian state. The Namibian state stands on the three pillars that I have mentioned. Laws are made by the parliament. The judiciary plays its part, checking if there is discrimination of people because of the color of their skin, if there is discrimination against the children, if there is discrimination against women, and if there is discrimination against men. So sometimes we call it, we have a system of checks and balance. And it has been going well.
Good. Well, that's what I wanted to pick up on, Mr. President, because you've just mentioned the three elements: citizen participation, the expectation of your political leaders, but also you mentioned the very lowest level, the decentralization. Is there a lot of power among the people in different regions in part of this democracy that you've just described?
Yes, there is a lot of power. Power by those people. First, these people at the grassroots, they have what we call traditional authorities. Traditional authorities are authorities exercised in accordance with the traditional norms of that particular region or community. And then you have people who have been elected Elections are called. That's another level I'm going to.
It's at the local levels.
At the district levels and local levels. And these people are elected representing political parties. Maybe we have not yet gone to the political parties. They represent the political parties. Those who have won, they establish the local committees which oversees both the social and economic activities in the area. And then they report to a higher level either called the town councils, if they are living in the town, or regional councils. Again, these councils are headed by elected councillors. They are elected by the people. And the people have the right to remove he or she they feel that is not attending to the problems of the community. This is how we do it. And then from that levels, they report to the central government. By the way, before I talk about the central government, the president has appointed governors, not in the way the governors of the United States, your country, are governing. Ours, and this is what's stipulated by the Constitution, Namibia is a unitary state. And governors report to the central government. The central government formed by people who have been elected by the general elections. These people are appointed by the president from the members of parliament. Members of parliament elected by the people. And this is how we do it. Obviously, you have the president who has also been elected universally by the people of this country. This is, in a way, how our democracy works in our country.
Mr. President, I want to leave Namibia for a while, but I want to come back to it later and get your perspective on democracy. As eloquently as you've just spoken about it here, I wonder, could you give me a perspective on democracy in Southern Africa as a whole? You have quite a diversity of countries here, both in terms of peoples, in terms of sizes, in terms of government, in terms of form. Please give us your perspective.
Yeah, first, I started by saying that the states in Southern Africa have decided, should I say, on the instruction of the AU to form the regional development communities. In Southern Africa, we have a SADC.
Yes. Yes.
And SADC top leadership are the heads of states. They meet to discuss everything concerning the region. But that does not mean we have uniform laws. Each member state has its laws. And obviously, they deal with the local situations independently. So, not that SADC controls the constitutions of these countries, and it's the constitutions that are fundamentally followed by the laws of the countries. For instance, we have republics in SADC, and we have kingdoms within the SADC. You find that things are not exactly the same. Traditionally, there are those who feel that we should have kings, we should have queens. And there are those who say we have to be republics. But again, earlier on, I spoke about traditional authorities. Here too, in our country, being a republic, you have at the traditional level those who are leading referred to in their own languages. Now that I speak to you in this language that we have adopted, they have kings and queens at that level. So, and then you have a state which has a kingdom. We have the kingdom of Swaziland. We have the kingdom of Lesotho. We have two kingdoms. And we have the larger membership being republics. So this is where now when we meet in SADC, we don't interfere. We don't call the people of Lesotho to overthrow their king in order to replace it with a Republican head of state. We don't do that. Nor do they say that let's have the Republic of Namibia being turned into a kingdom. We don't get to that. Each country follows its constitution. What we do there is to talk about economic and the social integration of Southern Africa. In other words, to trade among ourselves, to develop the area for the movement of our people and goods, crossing the border from this country to another country, and to strengthen the unity of Southern Africa based on a bigger unity of Africa under the AU.
So SADC is mostly an economic commission or of the states of Southern Africa? Is that its primary role?
Yes.
It's not political.
Yes, it's economic and political. Mm-hmm. Many years ago in Nigeria, the leaders of Africa met and they looked at Africa. They saw, correctly so, some countries have been terribly neglected by those who were colonizing them. Mm-hmm. And you find that there are countries that were considered as European countries. Mm-hmm. South Africa is one of them. Those who were running South Africa, they felt that that is their country, and that they developed it. You have Botswana, which is close to South Africa. It was under the British. The British did nothing at all. They just put up the Union Jack there, and they allowed the people to sing God's, our gracious God. How do they do it? I used to sing it because I was an Anglican. I belonged to a church called the Anglican. Now, that is what was in Bechuana land, which we call Botswana today. The level of development was not the same. You find it in the countries which were under the French and the Belgium. So then in Nigeria, the African decided to put up regional economic blocks so that when they develop to a certain level, and then we say, Kwame Nkrumah spoke about unity of Africa. Let's now unite. You would find it like you have these houses, how do you call them, that you create pieces.
Modular.
And then you put them together, and then you start it in the morning, in the afternoon you have a big house put up. In a way, this is just an example why Africa decided to put up the RECs. And we have 5 of them in the continent. Is for future unity of the continent, united by countries who have an advanced level of development. This is how it came about, yes.
Mr. President, the final question. I would like for you to give us your reflections. You have, what, 4 or 5 days left in office? I don't want to take one away from you, so I better count correctly here. What message are you... I was very struck by your speech at the AU, your final speech there. What message are you going to leave to the people of Namibia, to your successor, Mr. Geingob, to the world about not just democracy, but about the existence of the human race?
Well, I have been repeating the SWAPO message to the people of this country. Unity, peace, and tranquility. It's not my message. I did not initiate this. This is a SWAPO message. Did you hear? I'm the president of SWAPO, by the way.
Yes, I know you.
So, SWAPO message is that Namibians all together, in order for us to keep peace in our country, let's stand together as Namibians. We may share different political ideologies, but when it comes to Namibia, let's keep peace. Let's keep unity. And this is the message I can say, repeating, and I repeat it to the people who have already been informed that unity, peace is the most important thing. We are now 25 years. And within 25 years, this country has been at peace. with itself. And yes, we face challenges of poverty, challenges of land, for example, because the land in this country had been owned by the people whose forefathers came from outside Namibia. Should I say the whites? Now, you have the blacks who are landless. And the government adopted the policy. And this policy came about after the land conference that we held in 1991. The man we are going to inaugurate as president of this country in a few days' time was the chairman of that conference. He was also the first prime minister of this country. And we decided that those who have the land registered legally on themselves, let that land, that property be considered as belonging to them. But they were requested to sell to the government some parts of their land because they are too big. The government buys the land in order for it to distribute the land to those who do not have the land, particularly the black people of this country. So this has, to some certain extent, and added to the poverty that we are having today. Now, the message is that let's keep peace. The message is that those who have the land should respond to the government positively to part with some parts of their land, and the government buys it. They get the money. And then the land bought by the government goes to those who have no land. By so doing, we are cooling the hearts of those who have no land. But if we allow the situation to go like this, and it has been going like this, we have been making appeals. I am still appealing that under Hagen Gengob's administration, of which I know the law of purchasing the land will continue. Those who have the land, they should give land to the government, not free of charge. And I want to repeat this, that the government has to buy that, so that we keep the majority of our people happier. If they are not happy, they can do anything. So this is the message I am, it's a message that I give, and I'm just repeating it for the reason that you have asked.
You mentioned earlier about SWAPO's philosophy and the programs. It's not just you as an individual, it's the party and it's the people who worked hard. You also have a multi-party system here. You have you allow parties as part of your democracy. Will there come a day in the next 25, 50 years that the contested elections may see a party in power other than SWAPO?
Well, we have several political parties.
Very vocal.
In our parliament, I don't know, I think we have about 6, 7, or maybe 8. Some of them having one person and all this. SWAPO, ever since we got independence, through elections, has the majority in the parliament. Now, we consider these people, and I have said it earlier, as Namibians, and we wanted to work together for the development of our country. I invite them. They come here. They come here, we hold meetings. They express their views. I express the views of the government and the SWAPO party. And from there, some make like this, I make like this, and we go and drink coffee together.
Or bush tea.
And yes, so there is no problem. Now, those who are going to work hard, and if those in the party that I'm heading do not work hard, you may find that maybe after 50 years, another political party emerges to gain the majority support of the people of this country, and obviously to be allowed, because the Constitution says that, to be allowed to form a government in this country.
Of course.
But as much as we allow that, the situation on the ground now does not show that. The elections that we held in November last year gave SWAPO 80%. 80%. And the SWAPO candidate for the presidency, Dr. Hagen Geingob, got even more than SWAPO, which means that he was not only voted for by the SWAPO members. People from other parties, they voted for him. And that's why he got 87% of the vote. So maybe they will come later, perhaps when I'm about 90 years, I will be 80 within a few months' time. The way I look at the situation on the ground, I think my party, the party that fought to liberate this country, is still popular, and the people love it. So unless if something miracle comes up, and I'm happy to see that situation. I'm happy that I have been leading the people of Namibia who agree with one another. Doesn't matter, they have political differences on issues concerning the society. We agree with one another, and that is that. It's what I call a health situation that we are having in our country. And it makes me happy. Hage Ngaingobi is also a happy man to be leading a country with the wonderful people.
Mr. President, thank you very much.